I'm very passionate in my belief that the Godzilla fandom is one of the most diverse and accepting fandoms on the internet, and it's a lot bigger than a lot of people tend to think. It's been a home for me for like the past 20 to 25 years, ever since I got my first computer and was able to, surf message boards, so on and so forth. And as I've grown up with the Godzilla fandom, now being a person in his early 30s, I've grown with these characters and they've shaped me at different points in my life. And I've always been very passionate about explaining why these characters have shaped me, and I've always wanted to encourage other Godzilla fans to do so as well, because when we share those stories, we show people that these films and these characters are more than just two giant monsters fighting or destroying a city. They do shape people, they do help people find acceptance within themselves, they do serve as a crucial escape or as very important political or social commentaries on things happening in the world. Those things should be celebrated. And unfortunately, since identity and social conversations are largely villainized nowadays, especially on the internet, those conversations are often met with a lot of negative response. And the reason why I'm making this video, it's a follow-up to my prior video. I made a video several days ago titled Why a Woman Should Direct the Next MonsterVerse film. And in the video, I essentially reflected on the fact that in the 67-year history of the Godzilla franchise, there's never been a woman who's directed a film. And that to me is a pretty significant statistic. I think it would be really cool to see a woman's take on any of these different characters. But of course, that was met with a lot of negative response, largely from male Godzilla fans. A lot of male Godzilla fans would respond with, well, why can't a director just be hired based on talent as opposed to what they have in their pants? And quote unquote, what they have in their pants. I literally have had people say that. And the truth is, in my video, I never made any statement about talent being dismissed entirely. Okay, I do think that the hiring of directors, people who are creatively involved in films, that obviously should still be assessed based on talent, on vision, on capabilities, on their CVs, so on and so forth. But and this is very documented. This is well documented. This is nothing new. Hollywood has been very well known to gatekeep marginalized communities, including women, from the steps of the process prior to getting to the point where their talents can even be assessed. That is, in essence, the problem. The fact that there is still a lot of that gatekeeping. And this happens a lot for action films, science fiction films, largely. And obviously that's something that I believe should be remedied, because I think creative representation is unbelievably important. And if you are one of those people who have never really had to worry about creative representation, then I think that's a good thing, because and that means that a certain degree of your privilege has shielded you from not having examples to look to of representation in creative careers like that. Privilege is not something you should necessarily feel ashamed about, but I think it's something that we should be conscious about. And the reason why I made that prior video is because in my capacity as a man, like, it's always my goal whenever I can to set aside privilege to think about why there are certain groups who may not have access to certain things like I do. And I think that that is a conversation that we should freely and confidently have in the Godzilla fandom. There are a lot of women in the Godzilla fandom. There are a lot of LGBTQ plus people. There are a lot of people of different ethnicities, neurodiverse people. And I think that those people should have safe spaces in which to talk about how these characters not only have shaped them, but also talk about why representation might be important for them to see in these different films, whether it be characters or directors or producers, actors, actresses, so on and so forth. That is not a horribly glaring conversation to have. And if you are the type of person that's threatened by a conversation like that, I would ask you to reflect on why you feel so threatened about that. Because the truth is, a conversation about something like that, if it's something that makes you uncomfortable, it's something that you simply don't have to engage with. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because, like, obviously it being the internet, like, a lot of people often engage. And when I made that video last week, I had a lot of good response. I had a lot of, like, people saying, like, oh, it shouldn't be about the director's identity. It should be about their talent, which is a fine argument, I guess, like, as long as you're not being hateful, right? But I also had another swath of people who were being very hateful. I received a number of death threats from fellow Godzilla fans of varying degrees. I received one message from a Godzilla fan where they essentially told me that I should have followed through with killing myself. It's really made me think of how people must be in order to say things like that. And what also concerns me is the bystanders who see things being said like that, who don't say anything. People can disagree all they want, but when it crosses that threshold of actually threatening someone, I think that's extremely concerning, and that is a symptom of a much larger problem. If a person feels so threatened that they're willing to threaten a person's life or tell them that they should have followed through with killing themselves just because a person said that it'd be cool for a woman to direct a film, that's pretty glaring to me. It, as in my capacity as a person who has gone through a lot of, like, mental health, like, therapy, who has found self-acceptance as a 32-year-old person, I am able to take comments like that and let them roll off. But I'm really concerned about the younger Godzilla fans who are, say, in their teenage years, who are just discovering these films. A Godzilla fan who might be a woman or LGBTQ plus, coming into a fandom where they are seeing fellow fans, like, hating on each other for any type of conversation like that. And of course, fans who are not in those marginalized groups seeing other fans reacting this way, knowing that, oh, it must be acceptable to talk like this to people, like, that to me is scary. Because if a person is in a vulnerable mindset, if this is a young person, for example, and they are in a vulnerable mindset, seeing threats and comments like that, seeing discrimination like that can be very damaging. And I know that as a fandom, the whole fandom isn't this way. It's just a select grouping of people who are. But when we do see those people, we need to say something and call that out, because we may not know how that's affecting certain groups of people. Okay? Anyway, I wanted to share that. I know this video is super long, but, like, obviously I've thought over the past week a lot about having received threats. And keep in mind, this is not the first time I've received death threats from fellow Godzilla fans. But I'm at the point where I want to do something more active in speaking out against that type of ridiculousness, because I know that our fandom can do better than this, and I know that we can do a better job at calling people out like that. It's fine if you disagree on an opinion, but it's not fine if you're going to shame marginalized communities for talking about how they've been shaped by these characters. And it's also horrible to let it pass when people are making threats like this. Those are just my thoughts. Anyway, share your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Thank you for listening. I love you all, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.